Hello, I am Bookbird, and I like to start off my videos by giving everyone a cheers. So cheers! Let me tell you about a few middle grade books that you could get your kids for Christmas this year, or for any other occasion. But these are the ones that I have read this year and enjoyed. So let's get into it. First, I have a honorable mention because I just completed this and I should have a review up on my channel already if you want to see what I said in depth about this book, because it was fresh in my mind, so I went ahead and did a whole review on it if you're interested. It's Nevermore, The Trials of Morrigan Crow, a series by Jessica Townsend. These aren't going to be in any specific order of how much I loved them or which one I loved the most in this list. I do kind of have them broken up into sections. So first I'm gonna start with two books that I read this year that were published in 2025 that both I received e-arcs for from NetGalley. And the first book in this category is going to be Elvira Vance and the Monster Mystery by Casey Ritter. This one I have on as an e-arc, so I don't have a physical copy to show, but the summary for this one is half-siren Elvira Vance doesn't trust outsiders, especially not the human detective who's been hired to investigate the disappearances of a chupacabra and the crown for the Marfa Monster Festival. While humans are convinced the monster skipped town with the crown, Elvira knows there's more to the story. As the daughter of Vince Vance, founder of Vince Vance's vintage trailer park inn for monsters, Elvira cares too much about her home to let this mystery go unsolved. With her two best friends, Elvira collects clues and investigates humans, banshees, vampires, and ghosts. But when more creatures start disappearing and anti-monster attitudes rise, Elvira realizes that her friends could be in real danger. Now time is running out, and Elvira must use her siren powers and sleuthing skills to solve this mystery or lose everything she loves. So this book I gave a 4-star rating to. It felt a lot like Scooby-Doo, slightly in the mystery aspect, and also it was just a cute Halloween monster read, almost in the vein of if you watched Halloween Town. There was nothing too scary. A way to take on these monsters in a unique way. Elvira's best friend is a chupacabra, and you don't really get that kind of monster very often in many fantasy stories, so that already was quite unique to this book. Its themes on friendship are definitely main center point, and I definitely thought this is a good read to have around Halloween, or if you just enjoy the lore of monsters and spooky things. I noted that there was a zombie cat in this book as well, so he added a lot to my enjoyment of the story too. If you know me, I am a sucker for cat characters. So that's my first book that I recommend. And this next one was also an e-arc given to me, but I also bought the physical copy for myself. Look at this cute little dragon that's on the painted edge. The Dragon's Apprentice is by James Riley. He's written stuff before, but I've actually never heard of him as an author before just randomly requesting this book on NetGalley. And I'll go ahead and read the synopsis. Stop. Don't read any further. There are magic spells in this book, and the Emperor has forbidden anyone from learning magic because it's way too dangerous. If you try one of these spells, any number of terrible things may happen, or so the Emperor says. Don't be like Sierra, a 12-year-old girl living in the tiny village of Skael. When she used a spell from within this book, she ended up summoning a dragon. A dragon! Those things breathe fire. From their mouths, she's obviously doomed. And don't listen if Sierra tells you that dragons won't hurt humans, and that they even once taught us magic 1,000 years ago. Definitely don't pay any attention to the fact that the dragon she summoned, Scorch, might be willing to help rescue Sarah's mother and free her village from the Emperor and his warden, because it's obviously a big lie. So put this book down and forget about it. Magic is just way too dangerous. After all, you wouldn't want to summon your own dragon, would you? So that synopsis, obviously you can tell why it caused me to click that request button on NetGalley. So I really enjoyed this. At first, I was a little annoyed with Sierra because she is written like a 12-year-old and it's from her perspective. So as an adult, I was a little peeved at her choices and the way she was thinking about stuff and would over exaggerate and be over emotional about things. But I got kind of the adult perspective because Scorch, her dragon, gives you what an adult would actually bring to the conversation and the more mature voice of this novel. And I was really impressed by the world building in this novel as a middle grade. And I have also already requested book 2 that comes out next year on NetGalley. So if I'm approved, I'll let you know my thoughts on that. But I really did enjoy this first book. It was a nice setup to what's to come in the remaining books of the series. So this is my second recommendation for middle grade. The next 2 will be popular and everyone will kind of understand, everyone will know them when I say them, but these are 2 that I read this year, but they are definitely published in previous years. Kind of have a theme with these, just so you know. Book 1, Kiki's Delivery Service, and then book 2 is Howl's Moving Castle. And each of these I purposely read them, then watched the Studio Ghibli films. Both movies are very different. Well, I think Howl's Moving Castle is very different, and Kiki's is only slightly different in movie. Howl's definitely focuses on having a war commentary in there, and none of that is in the book. It's more whimsy, it's more silly, it's a lot more lighthearted than the movie, and there's less of a romance as a major plot point. Felt like Kiki's Delivery Service had more magic in the book and also more of a coming of age story in the book than in the movie, and it was just more cozy and less dramatic. So it's focused even more on her specific deliveries that Kiki has to do and the choices she has to make that are between making good life choices and learning the best choices to make. So that's why I say it's more of a coming of age story than the movie represents. And I didn't think I needed to read these synopses because most people know of the movies, and it's basically the same. There's just plot elements that are different. The next few books have been past year favorites that I've read, but they still stick out as me really loving them. First is a series. There are currently 9 books in this series, and book 10 is supposed to be the last one, and Shannon Messenger is still working on it. But Keeper of the Lost Cities is about a girl named Sophie who finds out she's an elf. She has telepathy as her magic power, and also similar to Harry Potter, she then gets taken to this magical world and discovers who she actually is and finds out about magic and all the magical creatures, and then also makes friends along the way. And these books definitely do age up with how she ages up. So eventually she starts getting crushes, and so it's definitely a good series for a child as they grow as well, because she starts out as 12 and I believe she is 16 or 17 now. I haven't picked up this series since book 9 came out, but I definitely recommend these, especially if you or your child likes Harry Potter. This is another magical world fantasy. So that's Keeper of the Lost Cities, the series by Shannon Messenger. And then I have 2 more that I have on ebook that I got as e-arcs in previous years from NetGalley that I didn't have a booktube yet, so I didn't get a share. And the first one, according to Goodreads, is going to be a trilogy, but it's called Where the Crane Lands. And I'll go ahead and read the synopsis for you. What would you do if your family's beloved property was set to be deforested? Well, that's exactly what Lisa Bloom discovers on her birthday. That and how her aloof parents don't seem to care all that much. She quickly realizes that if there's any hope for their forest, she needs to take matters into her own hands. She needs to seek out the one thing she knows can help. The most magical animal in all the forest, the crane. The only problem, nobody knows how to find where they land. Although Lisa suspects the children's book her mom wrote might be able to offer up some clues. Probably because it's named Where the Crane Lands. Using her mom's book as a map, she sets out alone in the forest, but her journey goes sideways before it can even begin. She was not expecting to stumble upon a lovable, disgruntled, talking possum. Yep, that's right, a talking possum. It seems the forest holds more secrets than she could have ever dreamed. But with the fierce predators on the loose, it might also be more dangerous than she's prepared to handle. So that's Where the Crane Lands by Vincent J. DeVito. I don't think I said the author's name before I read that, but I gave this one also a 4-star. Like the synopsis mentions, she meets a possum, but she also meets other forest animals, and I remember that being fun for me to read because each animal kind of had their own attitude and characterization, and it came with illustrations as well. So that one was kind of reminiscent of, if you ever have seen the cartoon Once Upon a Forest. I used to love that one as a kid, and that's kind of what it reminded me of. But Lisa was there talking to the animals instead of the animals just doing everything on their own to try to stop the deforestation. And the next book that is called A Tale of Phoenix, and it's by Sandra Hayes. And I'll go ahead and read the synopsis again for this one because it's more of an indie published book. Phoenix, though entirely blameless, carries the guilt of his twin sister's death at birth and feels as though he is cursed. Events seem to confirm this when a family death occurs on each of his leap year birthdays. On his 12th birthday, Phoenix's bad luck accumulates in a near-death experience when he is caught in a fire. Whilst lying in a coma in this life, in another world, on an island called Lila, his story unfolds. Here, he meets Maya, his twin sister, who becomes his guide across the island. So I recommend not reading the entire synopsis because I think it gives away a lot. So I'm gonna stop. Unless you as the parent want to go read it, it'll give away a lot of the book. I remember this being extremely fantastical and deep in its themes, but also like sort of confusing, but not really, because it almost felt like Alice in Wonderland, where things were like topsy-turvy and you didn't really know what was actually happening. It was kind of that feeling. There's metaphors, I think, within this island that Phoenix goes to in his coma that were cool to think about as you were reading, and when you finally finished, there was so much depth to it that you could pull from his journey on the island. And the next two are both going to be by J.K. Rowling. So if you kind of haven't been paying attention to things that J.K. Rowling has been publishing for kids in the recent years, here's two that I have picked up. So the first is going to be The Ickabog, and I'll go ahead and read the synopsis from Goodreads. Once upon a time, there was a tiny kingdom called Cornucopia, as rich in happiness as it was in gold, and famous for its food. From the delicate cream cheeses of Kurdsburg to the hopes of heaven pastries of Chouville, each was so delicious that people wept with joy as they ate them. But even in this happy kingdom, a monster lurks. Legend tells of a fearsome creature living far to the north in the marshlands, the Ickabog. Some say it breathes fire, spits poison, and roars through the mist as it carries off wayward sheep and children alike. Some say it's just a myth, and when that myth takes on a life of its own, casting a shadow over the kingdom, two children, best friends Bert and Daisy, embark on a great adventure to untangle the truth and find out where the real monster lies, bringing hope and happiness to Cornucopia once more. So I really enjoyed this because it felt like a classic fairy tale. J.K. Rowling puts in the foreword how this was like a bedtime story she would tell her kids, and this was only published because of the pandemic, that she had the extra time, everyone was locked in their homes, so she fully wrote it out, fully built the world, and created it to be published. And the other cool thing is with the very first edition, there's now a new edition out, but she had a contest for kids to illustrate their own artwork of the story. So she actually published it for free online first, and then did the illustration contest, and kids got to be picked to be in the final published novel. And also, all the proceeds from this, I think, went to some kind of children's donation, or a donation for a nonprofit organization. So that was also a really cool thing, because she didn't just keep all the proceeds from this book. I don't know if that's still the case, but for this first edition, she did donate all the profit. The way that Harry Potter makes you continuously want to binge read is how I felt about the Ickabog. I just continuously wanted to keep going in the story and find out that whole just the next chapter, just one more chapter feeling I got from the Ichabod, and it's just under 300 pages. So, plus you have the illustrations that take up a whole page. So I could have read it in a day. I don't think I did. I think I took my time with it, but it's definitely one of those books. So if you have like a weekend that you just want to read the Ichabod, I recommend. The last book I have for you is The Christmas Pig by J.K. Rowling. This is a really cute book to read around Christmas time, and I actually plan on doing a reread for this next month, but I'll go ahead and read you the synopsis. One boy and his toy are about to change everything. Jack loves his childhood toy, Der Pig. DP has always been there for him, through good and bad, until one Christmas Eve, something terrible happens. DP is lost. But Christmas Eve is a night for miracles and lost causes, a night when all things can come to life, even toys. And Jack's newest toy, the Christmas Pig, DP's replacement, has a daring plan. Together, they'll embark on a magical journey to seek something lost and to save the best friend Jack has ever known. So, as you can tell from the synopsis, Jack loses his favorite toy, and his stuffed pig replacement goes on an adventure with him to find his beloved DP. And I said in my review that it reminded me of Toy Story a little bit, just because the toys come to life on Christmas Eve. And I remember they basically go to the land of lost and found. I remember that being a very fun, magical place as well, especially with J.K. Rowling having written Harry Potter. She has a great imagination for making magical lands. So this is definitely it, especially if you want just a Christmas read or a Christmas family read. I definitely recommend picking this up because it could be a good family tradition to start, reading The Christmas Pig, among any other book reading traditions that you do, but The Christmas Pig could be a good one. So these are my 8 recommendations. 9 if you go check out my Nevermore review. But these are all the books that I recommend if you like middle grade, or if you're wondering what to get your child for their specific age range. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please give it a like, a thumbs up if you found it helpful, because it'll help the algorithm tell other people this video is a good recommendation video. And if you subscribe, I can see everybody in the next video. Bye.
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, baby